the ANZAC Day Cup to us right here at ANZ Stadium. They're playing for it, of course, today for the 7th time, and at the moment, it's the Dragons who lead the Roosters 18 points to 6. An upset is on the cards. Young Cameron Wheatley, recipient there of the ANZAC Day Cup, the great-grandson of a digger who served his country so proudly, of course, in action overseas, and was a decorated war veteran. The Dragons fans watching on, they'll be nervous at the moment. Speaking of nervous, don't forget about what we have in store tomorrow on Super Saturday when the Seagulls take on the Bulldogs. Pre-game show from 2:30 p.m, followed by the Toyota Cup. Kick-off there at 3:15, and the NRL action between two of the Sydney Superpower clubs, if you like, from 5:30 p.m. Eastern. That's live from Brookvale Oval, Fox Sports 2. And following that, of course, the Cowboys and the Storm, two interstate clubs, the defending premiers, travelling to Townsville. That one live from Dairy Farmers Stadium. The Cowboys have won their last 3 straight. The Storm, of course, fired a warning shot across the bow of everybody in recent times as the Roosters leave their dressing room. Let's go downstairs to Andy Raymond.
Warren, and the good news for both Roosters and Dragons fans, it is a 17-on-17 game. No injuries. Here come the Tricolours, who, as you said, are in a different position. They trailed for the first time in 2008. Brad Fittler's message, it was a pretty simple one. It was increase your intensity, increase your controlled aggression. Do so both offensively and defensively. No injuries for the Dragons. Nathan Brown, very happy with what they did in the opening 40 minutes. He stressed to continue the variation. He stressed to run at angles, keep the defence moving laterally. He said that's the key to victory here today. There is some concern in the Dragons camp, though. They came into the match with 2 specialist hookers. What that does mean is the bigger boys are playing extra minutes over the course of the 80.
And there was no sign of Simon Wolford also coming off the bench in that first half. Stuart Webb came off the bench to play as a back rower. There he is. He can be at dummy half also, along with Dean Young, who is the number 9 today. We'll wait and see what the Roosters can get out of dummy half in this second half with Riley Brown and also James Orbison. Orbison finished the first half as the dummy half. They'll need some spark to try and get a bit of a roll on, which they'd really lacked for most of that first 40 minutes.
Well, they just looked a little flat. And intensity is one word you could use. They certainly need to up something and do a little better with what they're doing as Shillington brings the ball back. Play 1 for the second half.
He'll play at 15 metres out from his own line. Perrott is there at dummy half. Perhaps he's the man to get in there to that position and jump out of there Minicello-like and try and create something from their own end of the field. Orbison now gives it off to Lapini Paya. Such leg speed he has. One of a number of Roosters still unsigned for 2009 onwards. Both Sam Perrott and Sean Kenny Down extending deals for the Bondi Junction-based club earlier in the week as they get a kick away here through Mitchell Pearce. A high floating kick as well, taken by Brett Morris to bring it back outside his own 20, grabbed by Perrott and also Orbison.
Hold, Roosters, hold. 2.
Nightingale from dummy half. They lead by 12, looking for their 4th win on Anzac Day. The Dragons. Chase Stanley driven backwards here. Now Young coming to the open side. Hornby to Reynoldson. Crash ball, well taken though by Mitchell Pearce and Craig Fitzgibbon. Absorbed the impact there. The young halfback trying to press his claims, of course, for a New South Wales spot. And the Origin Series rolls around, not that far down the track.
Yeah, only a young player, but a player with plenty of class and certainly no weakness in defence. Mitchell Pearce, Jamie Soward.
Well, the Dragons have their moments, don't they? And they seem to be in good positions, and Nathan Brown has said a couple of times this year that all you have to do, the feeling is stay with the Dragons and they'll do something to fall on their own sword. Let's hope for the Dragons fans' sake that's not the beginning of something there.
Yeah, they didn't have any of those sort of moments in the first half. Kept the errors to a minimum. Jamie Soward not happy with the pass, but it was there to be taken. It wasn't the best of passes, but at this level you've got to take those sort of passes. He had plenty of time, not much pressure from the Roosters defence and plenty of time to get a kick away. He rushed it but snatched it and the Roosters on the attack inside the 40.
What have they got to offer in this first set? Not much in that particular play. No timing there in communication between them as they go inside the 30. Orbison now from dummy half to Pearce. Back on the inside for Fitzgibbon, but well read by Stuart Webb, who raced up out of the line and crunched him before he got across the advantage line. Orbison to Shillington, flat ball for Payer. Backwards, it's play on, and Nasta now links up with Riley Brown, who has crashed himself there by Josh Morris.
Well, there's confusion out there for the Roosters.
Shillington taking it forward for a settler. Picked up at an awkward angle there. Could have easily been a penalty for him. He might have glared at the referee as well. Here's Pearce putting a kick in. Not a bad one either. A chance for Tupou, but getting there, Brett Morris coming up with a good catch, and they'll play it in the field of play a couple of metres out from the Dragons line.
He did well there, Brett Morris, didn't he? It was a collision mid-air too, and he still hung on to the ball and was still able to stay in the field of play. Plenty of Roosters there driving him back.
Now Stanley getting an offload. Jason Nightingale again getting a carry, coming all the way from the left-hand side of the field to do so, and he put Stanley under pressure. The teenager hung on to it. Here's Hornby showing it, going himself. Grabbed only just by Riley Brown. A good tackle. Good run, though, by Hornby. Gets them going in the right direction, and then they have another Dragon moment. Just when they have a roll on once again, they come to the left-hand side, a simple play, and they cough it up.
Yeah, Jason Riles through the pass, heading the line. It was a bit of a floating pass, but on some occasions, Josh Morris, his hands have let him down. That's been the problem with Josh Morris in the opening 6 rounds, why he's found himself back out of the team on occasions. Sometimes he's got hands like feet. It wasn't the best of passes, but
it wasn't a great pass.
It was there to be taken again, like the Jamie Soward era. The Roosters, their set of 6 on the back of the Jamie Soward era was nothing short of embarrassing. They look confused out there. They don't know who is getting the ball. They're flat, but they're going to get another set.
You're hanging on to it, mate.
They get a chance from right in front and 20 metres out to bring it back inside the 12-point margin. They'll tap it as you'd expect and go for the line to make it 6. Shillington. He'll play it here just outside the 10. Orbison, James that is, going to Pearce. Now Tupou, a ball back on the inside for Sedamanasar. Cut in half and a good tackle by Stuart Webb. That's some good work defensively has Webb so far since coming off the bench. Payer carries it forward down to within about 2 of the line. Orbison. He goes to Pearce. Shillington ran a decoy line which filled nobody. Now Soliola for the line. He's only half a metre away. Tackled there, and a good tackle by Dean Young. It saved the try. Perrott, a ball back on the inside from Anasta to Fitzgibbon, but they muscle up on their own line, the Dragons, to stop the captain. He'll play it a couple of metres out. It comes deep. Anasta under pressure there from Dan Hunt, who grabbed him and now drags Anasta to the ground to give away a penalty, but who did it first?
Oh, Anasta did it first. Anasta's got to be penalised, and he is. Braith Anasta only got in front of Dan Hunt because he was the one that pulled him back first.
And Hunt said, well, if it's good enough for you, I'll return the favour, and dragged him, obviously from behind. But Anasta crossed the line as far as the sideline official is concerned the first time. Here it is again. They came tearing out at him as the ball came from the corner. Hunt with the charge down, grabbed by Anasta. It had to be a penalty against the Roosters.
Well, it did. He was the first to pull. Well done, Dan Hunt, who put the effort into pressure Anasta and got the charge down and earned the penalty.
Come on, Roosters, come on.
Couple of sets of 6 for the Roosters. No points to show for it. The second one more promising. They went close through Soliola, but he couldn't get across the line. And now Morris, one of 3 try scorers for the Dragons, works it up to within about 25 metres of the Roosters line. Here's Young going to Hornby. Now Soward. He has Gasnier cutting back on the angle to link up midfield with somebody. Met a good tackle there. Driving in low was Orbison to stop him. Young to Hornby. Flat ball, a good ball to Morris. He could see out of the corner of his eye Roberts coming at him. He did well to hang on to the pass as it turned out. Now Soward putting the high ball into effect once again. Gasnier leaping for it, knocking it backwards. It was backwards off his hand all right, but it went straight to Riley Brown for the Roosters. Perrott from dummy half works it away. The kick could have been better, I guess. Close to the try line for the Dragons. Gasnier had a play, couldn't come up with the tap back they were looking for. Orbison to Paya, taking it forward. Good run from the man who earned them a penalty for another set of 6 in the 20 a moment ago. And now Roberts getting to dummy half. They need some runs from those back 3 to get them out of their own end. Mason will play it here inside the 40 to Anasta. He was going to kick and then change the angle, but he's picked out Nightingale on the full back at his own 20. The angle wasn't banned from Anasta, but they were waiting for a kick from inside the 40, and as a result, they have it in pretty good field position.
And again, it was the pressure from the Dragons' defence. A couple of Dragons out off their line and up in Anasta's face, forced him really to change the angle he was kicking, and therefore found the Dragons on the full. And you're right, back in good position. They're winning the battle of the field position fight that these two are in, and the Roosters attack, sets in attack. Gee, they haven't looked sharp.
Riles will play it at the 40-metre line, looking for a penalty. He won't get one on that occasion, though, as Hornby goes to Soward, taking the line on himself. That's good to see. Doesn't do it often enough for most judges. He made them make a tackle on him. Then he certainly, if he gets halfway through the gap, he could be gone because he is one of the speedsters of the NRL. Good kick, though, has Perrott here under pressure. Off the back of a good set by the Dragons. There's such enthusiasm about their work here this afternoon. Certainly more than the Roosters are bringing to the table at the moment.
They just look quite the Roosters, don't they? They look like there isn't much talk. They're in a bunch. And it's not helping them get out of their own end. The Dragons' defence just condenses. Here they go to the edges here. Willie Mason looking for one of their most experienced men to give them a charge. There's Brad Fittler with a concerned look on his face.
A look we haven't seen too many times since, of course, he took over in the second half of the season last year for Chris Anderson at the Roosters. Now Orbison kicking out of dummy half. We haven't seen much of that from him in 2008 because he's been carrying a groin injury. To stop him from kicking out of dummy half. Morris picked up by Mitchell Pearce, who realised it could go wrong very quickly and eased him back to the turf with the help of James Orbison. Stanley played across the 30-metre line. Here it is again, a good tackle. Morris almost threw himself onto the shoulder in a fireman's carry position for Mitchell Pearce to drag him into the ground.
Matt Rogers is sitting out a month of football for a tackle not too dissimilar to that.
Jason Riles got away with a moment there. Now the ball's knocked on by Brett Morris. He was facing his own goal line but tapped the ball towards the Roosters goal line. Riles was lucky to get away with the play of the ball, which was cumbersome at best. And now Young goes back to the bench. Simon Wolford will come on for the Dragons.
Well, that's the third error in this position on the field. Brett Morris putting that one down. His brother Josh putting one down in a very similar position. And Jamie Soward, to start the half off, put one down just inside their own half. The Roosters' attack hasn't offered much on the back of these mistakes, but the Dragons coming up with errors. They don't want to compound it.
Half an hour remaining on Anzac Day on a muddy pitch here at ANZ Stadium, a pitch you don't see too much of. We might see one of those again at Brookvale tomorrow when the Seagulls take on the Bulldogs. Here's Orbison going to Pearce, taking it to the line, giving it to Mason. Good run by the second rower to ask a question of the left-hand side defence of the Dragons. Reynolds and Morris were up to the task. Here's Fitzgibbon going to Shillington, getting away from Gray's tackle. He came again, got some help there from Dan Hunt to stop him a couple of metres away. Pearce kicking for the end goal area. A player went to ground and Nesta was chasing. They'll get 6 more tackles anyway as they wrap up Stanley in the in-goal area. But we've seen that play a number of times in 2008. Pearce for Anasta.
And we've seen it come up trumps a couple of times, haven't we? They're very good, the little chip kicks just over the back of the defensive line. Anasta just ran into the back of Mark Gasnier, claiming that he was taken out, but a better set by the Roosters and the Dragons. Well, if they offer the Roosters enough chances, they will get them in the end. That's a big kick from Soward, 60 on the fly. Shillington brings it back into the Dragons' defence.
And they'll stop him on the other side of the 40-metre line as well.
Throw that ball, come on.
That is an enormous kick. Goal line dropouts fly off the boot these days compared to past eras.
If you don't kick it over halfway, you're not in the mix. They don't even think of you these days.
Come on, Dragons, come on.
Here's Orbison from dummy half, going to Mason. He juggled it, reeled it back in as he came to them before a touch to Dragon. Riles stopped him with the help of Reynolds and also Hunt. Now Orbison from dummy half. Second man ball for Pearce to Soliola. The pass for Roberts. Went forward in the tackle. The right idea with the execution was lacking on that occasion, and the Dragons hang on yet again.
Well, he knew that Roberts was unmarked on the outside. Nightingale had to come in and help out Ben Hornby there, and just did enough, Nightingale.
This time, Dragons.
And it's something he does very well. His timing coming in off the wing to make a play like that usually is very good.
Well, another split second later, and the pass hits the unmarked man, Roberts, and they get over in the corner.
Over the, get your head in the scrum there. Head in, get your head in, arms around. Get your head in, arms around.
Sean Hampstead putting on a scrummaging clinic for the Dragons. He's happy with what he saw, and as a result, they'll take it away from their own 10. Morris playing it here for Sauer. To the dummy half, and goes on a scamper of about 5 metres. 53 minutes gone. It's still 18-6. No change to that half-time scoreline here on Anzac Day.
Oh, fellas.
Nightingale for Wolford. Goes to Riles. Ooh, rocked back in the tackle there of Mason. Fitzgibbon around the legs. Mason over the top. But he kept going, Riles. Up a couple more metres as Cray takes it up towards the halfway line. The tape around the chin. It's okay for the moment. And now Stuart Webb will kick from around about the halfway line down the short side. Perrott will pick it up inside his own 10. An awkward one for him, and then Webb leads the chase down the field to make the tackle with the help of Gasnier.
Yeah, and that has been an important part of their game, the chase. I know we spoke about it at half-time. The kicking game of the Dragons has been good. They're finding the ground, but the chase has been exceptional. Stuart Webb that time, the kick and chase. Good pass there. Kenny Dow tries to work his way up the field after Sedimata Sar offloaded as he hit the ground.
It's a strong tackle by Ben Cray. Now a ball from Mitchell Pearce to Soliola. Just behind him, killed the roll on the Roosters had on this side of the field. As a result, they stop him at the halfway line. Mason getting them going. A tip-on ball for Miles, who puts it down. Good idea at the defensive line to put a pass on. And there was a chance for Miles to poke his head through the line had he hung on to it. But now Sauer taking them on again, asking questions of the Roosters. Gasnier from dummy half. Shuffles it forward. Not much happening. He still finds a way to almost get away from them. He'll play it 40 metres away. Here's Justin Paul, who's back out there. Good first half an hour from the Dragons front rower. He made 16 tackles and 9 hit-ups as well in that first stint. Now Hornby on the run around from Reynoldson. He stops just outside the Roosters 20. Wolford at dummy half. He goes to Riles. Back in behind the play, the ball opening it up on that right-hand side, which is, well, they won't go there. They'll go to the short side. Wolford puts a kick in. Not a great one as it turned out, because Roberts cleaned it up pretty easily on the left-hand side. They were screaming for it on the open side, but Wolford came back the short side.
Yeah, the Roosters had the numbers there. Out of dummy half. Well, the kick would have hit the fence if Roberts didn't make a play at it. There was no way anyone was going to get to that ball.
He took no chances with it. It gives the Dragons 6 more tackles. A good result, as it turns out, for Simon Wolford on what looked to be a poor kick. Rathan Astor try and do his Jamie Sauer impersonation and drive it over the halfway line on the full. He's able to do that, and Justin Paul brings it back, running at them to Nate Miles. Shoulder on shoulder, a big collision between the two of them. Miles stayed on his feet. Paul bounced back to his to play it. Now Cray almost away. Stopped there by Anasta. He grabbed him around the bootlaces. They're back to the 20 on 2 plays. Hornby showing it. Stopped there by Nate Miles. He'll play it 15 metres out from the Roosters line. Wolford going quickly from dummy half to Soward. He comes wide to Josh Morris. 2 on 2, nothing happening for them. Now he gets away from Pearce, and Mason wraps him up 10 away from the line. 4 plays gone. Soward will kick again. Chasing through is Cray, who's up there. Sedamata though was up above him to make the catch in the in-goal area, and they hang on the Roosters, but the Dragons putting plenty to them.
Dominant tackle!
Gray was a real chance to come up with that ball, wasn't he? He certainly can leap. That basketball background of his comes into play. We've seen what he can do in the air.
L2.
Wasn't that far away from that one.
No, Sedamata did a good job to get up above Ben Craig. And the Roosters looking for something. Soliola has looked dangerous the past couple of carries he's had, but well wrapped up there. Ben Hornby and Nightingale again.
Now Mitch Orbison is out there in 16 for the Roosters. He takes it from dummy half inside the Dragons 40-metre line. Soliola goes to Mason, a flat ball which the Dragons fans on the western side of ANZ Stadium thought was forward, but the pass was certainly okay. They'll play it here for James Orbison. Comes to Anasta. They've scored plenty of tries from kicks, 14 of 25 in 2008 before this game. But on this occasion, a nice catch by Chase Stanley under pressure there from Kenny Dow. Morris, they try and work it away from their own end. The youngster made an awkward play at the ball when he got back to his feet. These would have been a penalty, I guess, to him, or an incorrect play, the ball against him. Now Mitch Orbison coming up with what have been a high tackle there on Nightingale. Wolford from dummy half goes back to Stuart Webb. They've worked it well across the 40-metre line on the last hit. Wolford will give it to Soward. Will kick it towards the far corner. In behind Kenny Dowell, away from Sam Perrott. It wasn't a great bounce it took for him, but they'll make the Roosters work it away from their own 20.
Yeah, bounced a bit hard. Jamie Soward putting it dead. Not the worst option from that sort of distance out. The Roosters still have to retreat, get behind their 20 and try and work it out.
Just over 21,000 here. See this ANZAC Day clash between these two rivals. The Dragons, big chance of going ahead 4-3 in this 7th ANZAC Day meeting between them. See Soliola brings it back up towards the halfway line. Roberts to Pearce, and now Anasta running towards Soward and also Cray, but they stop him. I thought there might have been a high tackle. He was desperate to get back to his feet quickly. Perrott out of dummy half. Not much happening there for them as they go back to the short side, and Pearce will put a kick in. Perhaps a question mark on whether Saar was onside. He gets there to put some pressure on Brett Morris, who does it again very well to come up with the ball inside his own 10-metre line.
Chase Stanley did well there too, to run a bit of interference and run across the face of Brett Morris. That puts Sedamata Saar off his run. Mitchell Pearce again, a Roosters kick on the back of it. There's Chase Stanley. Just did enough to put Saar off his run, so he couldn't get a play at Brett Morris.
L4, move it now. Don't flop in, Anthony Tupu.
Nightingale from dummy half will work it away for the Dragons. They've absorbed almost 21 minutes in this second half without conceding a point. Now Wolford out of dummy half. I'm sure didn't realise it was the last. Soward has to put a kick in quickly as a result. It comes back to the Dragons. 6 more tackles. Wolford did very well to give it to Brett Morris, who stopped just outside the 25. Great ad-lib football by Jamie Soward has the Dragons on the attack. The ball cannoned off Sam Perrott. The Dragons have it in good position. 10 away. Hornby. Reynoldson now taking it forward to be 5 metres away from the uprights. They slow the play the ball down. Orbison and Miles there. Soward cuts out one to give it to Gaznia. He comes to Sedamata Saar. He makes a tackle. He comes back to Stuart Webb. Wolford points towards the line and says, "Go that way, my boy." He offloads instead to Ben Craig. He straightens things up quickly. He plays it for Wolford. He goes from dummy half, grubbering, a chance for Morris. They're in again, the Dragons. Wolford a super kick this time, and Brett Morris has surely scored.
Well, is that the one to put the Roosters to bed? Simon Wolford, a kick a couple of minutes ago. It wasn't the best, but it got a result. This time he jumps out of dummy half. He's very good at it, Simon Wolford. Players are onside, and Morris is going to win the race to the ball quite easily, well inside the dead ball line. And the grounding, no problems there.
Left forearm on the ball, right forearm as well, inside the dead ball line. And he'll make it 22 points to 6. It'll be 24 points to 6 when Soward converts.
Let's take a look.
They perhaps got lucky on the kick by Soward, which came straight back to them from Sam Perrott, but it is a try, and it's 22 to 6 to the Dragons.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Dragons now. And just the way they're playing, you wouldn't think they'll be able to come back from this. Here it is, the kick from Soward, 5th tackle. Simon Wolford realised a little bit too late, passed it to Soward. All he could do was get a grubber kick in, and the rebound off Sam Perrott into Wolford's hands, who did a good job to bat the ball back after he'd lost control of it, and then Wolford on the back of that outer dummy half, the little grubber, which he's done so many times for the Dragons and the Raiders in the past, finds the gap between the legs of the defence, and Soward makes it 24 to 6.
The Dragons on their way to a victory here this afternoon with 17 and a half minutes remaining. They've got all the questions covered from the Roosters so far, who haven't offered a lot in attack today. He gets his first try for 2008 as we go downstairs to Andy Raymond.
At 18-6, I thought the Roosters still had a big chance, Warren. The fact that they are now just making interchange 7 and 8. In fact, Mark O'Mealy is seeing his first football since half-time with just 17 minutes remaining. That means both sides have made 8 interchanges, 2 to go. Roosters need nothing short of a miracle.
The Dragons will bring it back from the restart through Jason Riles.
Come on, Roosters, come on.
They go on to lose this, and they certainly look like doing so, the Roosters. I guess it will be the first real test in the coaching career of Brad Fittler. We'll see how he responds to the loss last week after they led 20 points to 12 with not that long to go in the game, but they haven't been in this game pretty much from the kickoff.
No, they haven't looked good here at all, and you're right, the last 10 minutes as the Dragons get out of their own half easy. That's the 4th tackle there. They're back into the Roosters' half. Simon Wolford switches the play.
Gasnier down the short side. They grabbed him by a thread back to Wolford, who couldn't hang on to it. That was the game right there if they find the line, and they certainly look like doing so. Gasnier, they only just got him, but look at the enthusiasm now on the Dragons' defensive line. Getting up, making tackles on Mark O'Mealy and Lapini Paya, putting the Roosters under pressure. Sedamata Sarr only just got Gasnier, and now they force a ball. Pearce got it away to Roberts, who put the fend on Nightingale. He can run Amos. Morris coming across, can't stop him also, but brother Josh is there to save the day. Brett misses, Josh doesn't. Here's Soliola from dummy half. The Roosters a chance to get themselves back into the game. There'll be a penalty against the Dragons. You could almost make a case for a professional foul. They tap it quickly through Roberts. He gives it to Pearce. He'll offload it for Mason. They go to the left-hand side. Here's a Nasta for Perrott. They shut it down through Gasnier, jamming in on that right-hand side of the field. O'Mealy, 10 metres away. He gives it to a Nasta, who takes them on himself. He'll reach out. He can't make it. Half a metre short in the tackle of Justin Paul. Here's Pearce going to Mason. He'll try it on. He dumps the ball out the back. They're playing desperation catch-up football. It hurts them on this occasion because they turned it over.
Well, he's tried to spark them, Willie Mason, and over the last 10 minutes has looked like the player to get them going forward. The Dragons have handled him quite well, and on that occasion, well, 24-6 down, needed to provide something. Willie thought he'd come up with a miracle ball, and the Dragons will work it out. They've really handled everything that the Roosters have thrown at them this afternoon.
Terrific goal line defence a number of times now. Jared Saffy slumps back to the ground after playing the ball outside the Dragons' 30-metre line. He's not well for the time being. They'll attend to him as Howard kicks from inside the 40. Looking for a 40-20. A chance as well, but it bounces away from the sideline for Roberts, who went very close to scoring a try, or at least setting one up for the Roosters in the previous set of 6. Parrott with the play the ball. Kenny down. Coming in to carry it. Up towards the Roosters 20. Safi coming straight from the field. He's in a bad way. The back rower. Tackled there by Ben Crane. Dan Hunt coming on for Jared Safi. An unscheduled pit stop there for the Dragons. To set him almost got away from Mark Gasnier. Safi still struggling there on the sideline. Now O'Mealy with some space to move. Got a good ball away to Mitch Orbison. He got across the halfway line. Dumped the ball out the back, but they turn it over again. They are panicking, the Roosters. 14 or 13 minutes now remaining in the game. They're 18 points behind. I guess it's time for panicking, but they are coughing it up unnecessarily.
Well, they have to push the issue, and they've come up with mistakes doing it. Mitch Orbison, that one. After a good tackle by Josh Morris, who's got the ball at the moment. It was a good one-on-one tackle on Mitch Orbison, who found himself in a little bit of space, and the hit by Morris caused the mistake. Good play.
Now a tackle by Mitch Orbison. Well, it certainly appeared to be high and sounded almost high. You could hear it clearly through the effects microphone. He jumped into the tackle as he wrapped up Kirk Reynoldson, and all the Dragons, as one, appealed for a penalty for a high tackle. They got no joy from the referee.
Well, he couldn't have been much closer to the touch judge either. Happened right in front of him. He's blown time off Hampstead. They're taking their time now to pack the scrum. This is the part of the game that really irks me. They pack the scrum quick, they blow time out, and they take forever to pack it. Get on with it.
Okay, down we go. Lock it in. Head in the scrum. Time back on.
They'll feed it. Just outside the 10. Mitchell Pearce.
It's already out.
Probably as frustrated as Greg Alexander at the moment.
What do you think? That's a blight on the game at the moment, the packing of the scrums, and he blows time off, but then they have a little a chin wag about I don't know what.
The biggest blind is the referring to the video referee for balls lost in tackles. We've proven in recent times it's become a bit of a joke with the video referees across the board all over the shop compared to what one thinks to the other. Here's Orbison. Oh, nearly set upon by a red and white tidal wave. And they crunched him. And he gets up and isn't too happy about the contact. But Ben Hornby says, mate, just ease up, son. It was all okay. We got you with a good shot.
Well, they did come in a wave, the Dragons' defence. How quickly were they off their line? And a highlight, Justin Poore, who's been strong for the Dragons. The pass was never on, but 18 points the difference. Hoga thought he'd throw it anyway. Willie Mason, no chance of taking it. Ben Hornby getting, as a halfback, getting involved with the front rower. It's a no-no.
Well, finally, the enthusiasm has returned to the Dragons. It's been an awful month since they won against the Titans back in round 2 at Wynn Stadium. But they were terrific on that night, 30 points to 12 after being flat-out terrible in the opening round of the season against the Tigers. They can continue this sort of inspirational play, getting up off their line, putting pressure on ball carriers like O'Mealy. They can certainly be a factor still, despite their 1-5 start to the season. Of course, they've been in a similar situation. They had exactly the same record back in 2005 and ended up being one game away from the grand final. It's a different roster they have, of course, in 2008. When you play with enthusiasm, it's amazing what you can accomplish. Here is Craig going to the line, giving a ball to Josh Morris. Ends up in a headlock there in the tackle of Sia Soliola, who strips it away from him one-on-one. The tackle was completed, said the referee.
Well, he didn't even realise that Soliola had the ball there. Hampstead. Here's the tackle by Soliola. He is, well, you can't take the player. You can't take the ball off the player when he's on the ground.
No, they're trying everything at the moment, I guess. Inside the final 10 minutes they have to, and as a result of the penalty, the Dragons will add an extra 2 here through Jamie Sowan to make it a 20-point lead. A scoreline that was hard to imagine coming here today to ANZ Stadium.
Well, plenty of confidence in the opening 6 minutes. They'd scored 2 tries 6 minutes into the match, the Dragons, and really have played off the back of it. They needed that sort of start to give themselves a boost after what you said has been a terrible month of football. last week against the Bulldogs, probably their worst effort of the year.
Jamie Soward adds the 2 points for a 26-6 scoreline. They are high-fiving each other a long time from full-time, but why wouldn't they be? And Nathan Brown must be thinking, well, boys, had we shown this sort of desperation some time ago, I might still have a job.
And it's all those little things that you mentioned, the speed of the line, that's enthusiasm. And they have made some mistakes in this second half. They coughed up 3 balls, bringing it out of their own end. But their defence on the back of it made up for those errors. But the 1%ers, the chase on the kicks. The kicking game's been good. The chase on the kicks has been outstanding. They're getting off their line quick. They're putting pressure on the Roosters. And they're not allowing the Roosters to dictate the terms. But it's all just about effort. It's about effort. It's about playing a little bit smart.
That they've done today. Here's Nightingale working it away from their own 20. Good carry by Justin Poor off the restart. And now Josh Morris, along with his brother Brett, both scored tries here today. They play it for Simon Wolford, who supplied that second try for the Morris twins for brother Brett to get across the line and score in this second half. Despite a couple of attacking raids by the Roosters, they've been untroubled to maintain their half-time advantage. The Dragons. Now a kick is out on the full. Simon Wolford, who's filthy on himself, kicking out of dummy half. I thought there was a chance to pump it deep into the corner and make them work away from the scrum feed. Just didn't get it as cleanly as he would like, and it cleared the sideline by about a metre.
It's a bonus to have a hooker that can kick out a dummy half. The idea was right. The execution not there, but
just keep yourself straight, Roosters. This time, Dragons.
It is a bonus. There's
lock it in, arms around.
What they're playing for.
Arms around. Hit it, arms around. Right, okay.
Jared Saffy on the bench.
Tom back line, Sam.
Had an abdominal or rib injury. We saw him come from the field with not that long ago. His day, I'm sure, is done. And his work is done also, because they lead 26-6. Here's Mark O'Mealy being set upon again. You must be wondering what's going on here this afternoon. Cray and Poor this time combining. Now Tupou. There's a good flat ball to Lapini Pay, but Stuart Webb up there quickly to chop him down around the legs. Their midfield just outside the 20. Pearce to Anasta, had Mason coming with him, and lovely no-look ball for Mason. Clever play, but they wrapped him up, and now the ball comes loose, and there is no word from the touch judge that it was stripped away from Willie Mason. Ben Hornby was involved in the tackle. Mason gets no joy. And at this stage, it will be a scrum feed to the Dragons.
Now we're going to have a look at it.
Yeah, they're looking. Just keep yourself straight, Dragons.
No, Willie knocked it out of his own hands.
Straight, Dragons. This time, Roosters, Dragons.
That's why there was no complaining going on from Willie.
Right, down we go.
He had the look on his face. He knew what he'd done.
Lock it in. Arms around, Anthony. Right.
Hornby with the feed. And it comes to Josh Morris. He'll be tackled here at his own 10.
Hold. Go. L2. Move it now.
Next week, the Dragons, they have the bye. 4-point game for them in effect this week. They'll enjoy the week off. The Roosters also get the week off, and I guess that comes at a time that Brad Fittler won't be too unhappy about, and give them time to freshen up, think about things before they have to take on the Raiders, who will be on the road at the Sydney Football Stadium in round 9.
Hold, Roosters, hold.
Here's Wolford playing for Soward, who kicks away from outside the 40. Perrott back there on his own 10-metre line, bringing it forward. He hasn't had too many chances to show what he can do today after signing for a further 4 seasons earlier in the week, as Justin Poor comes from the field for the Dragons.
It's been enormous today, Justin Poor. The Roosters do have a very good front row rotation, and they've all been in pretty good form, but the Dragons have won that battle up front. Jason Riles being strong for the Dragons, getting through 26 tackles, 11 hit-ups, but Justin Poor, I think, has led from the front for the Red and Whites today.
L4, move it now. Come on, Saints.
Jason Riles back on the bench also to finish the game. Here is Mason bouncing out of the tackle there, or Wolford, but grabbed by Reynolds and also Webb. It's almost like there's a cricket pitch, an old-style field here at ANZ Stadium today with a bit of mud right around the middle of the halfway line. And now Jamie Soward was being offered the chance to get up and go by Anthony Tupou, but he wanted nothing of it as Stanley puts the foot down and almost cracked it. Tackled there by Sean Kenny-Dow. Gasnier going quickly, no markers for the Roosters, and as a result, Gasnier goes the best part of 20 metres. Nightingale again from dummy half, down the short side. They point towards the uprights and say, take it that way, Stewart. Now an offload off the chest there of Anthony Tupou back to the Roosters, who have it through Sedamata Sarr.
Well, Mark Gasnier's involvement in the game has certainly, well, it's increased in this second half. He's looked dangerous out on the right as the Dragons' defence again forces the Roosters backwards, but I think he's shown Mark Gasnier that calf is all right. And he'll be available for selection tomorrow night, Sunday night.
Saturday. Ink him in right now. He'll be one centre for the Australian side to take on the Kiwis in 14 days' time in the centenary test at the Sydney Cricket Ground. A ball from O'Mealy. Tapia hits the deck. And the tackle there of Soward. Have been outplayed, the forward pack today of the Roosters. This Dragon side just getting up in their face. Well, tip-on ball again there as O'Mealy came to the line, but Soward giving away plenty of kilos and a bit of height to Lapini Paya. Front rower spills it in the tackle of the 5'8". And the Dragons will have perhaps one more attacking chance here to rack up 30-plus points. That would be remarkable. Young from the back of the scrum, giving it the chase, Stanley. Looks likely to go straight through them at any stage here in these final few moments. Here's Dan Hunt taking it towards James Orbison. Got an offload away. Wolford now spins it to Stewart. Webb fends away from Tupou's tackle. And Nasta comes to grab him. Then Tupou drives him back on the other side of the 40-metre line. Here's Hornby. Running from dummy half. Oh, good ball for Brett Morris to find some room in between them. He gives it to Josh. He knocks it backwards, picks it up to go again. Got away from Pearce's attempted tackle. Likewise, Soliola's. And eventually it's O'Mealy who takes him to ground. Less than 2 minutes remaining. Here's Gasnier getting a touch. On the left-hand side to Nightingale for the line. He gets across the line, but they hold him up.
Good play, Dragons. Good ball movement. Some desperate defence, Roberts and Soliola. The Morris boys involved in the good play. A good passage of play. Ben Hornby starting it, and the Dragons a couple up their sleeve.
And Dean Young chipping in behind them. A chip towards Sean Kenny-Dow. He handled it pretty comfortably and then gets up to go again. He'll be stopped there by Kirk Reynolds. And they are a sight, aren't they? The Morris twins, when they're back on the angle, if an inside ball from Hornby or Soward or one of the forwards even, they can cut a hole in a defensive line as quick as a blink.
Both been fantastic today. Josh Morris back in the side, playing in the centres after being left out of the team last week. Hornby, good tackle there. They've done well, the Dragons' defence. They just haven't given these dangerous Roosters players who are great carriers of the football any room to move at all.
Well, the bigger portion of the crowd here today are Dragons fans, and they'll give them a rousing ovation as they come from the field after this display, you'd imagine. Soward watches the ball, getting back to clean it up was Josh Morris. He couldn't do so, and the Roosters, if they care to pack the scrum, and they'll do that and stop the clock with 40 seconds remaining, they'll have one last crack at them from 30 metres away. We spoke about the Roosters and what they have in front of them in the next couple of weeks. The Dragons, after the bye, will take on the Eels back here at ANZ Stadium on a Sunday afternoon. Both teams will come into that game with losing records, but the Dragons are feeling a whole lot better about themselves after what they've shown here today. We'll wait and see what the Eels can do after they have the bye this weekend.
Yeah, the Eels have been disappointing so far this season, and could be a very important clash between the two.
As the ball comes to Amos Roberts. He stands up in the tackle there of Morris, knocked off the arm of Hornby. 6 more tackles for the Roosters. They'll barely have time for 1 or 2 more as it comes to Anasta, but again, Gaznia rooting it out wide so well as they have done all afternoon, making a tackle on the man with the ball before it gets to the very edges. Here's Payer for Pearce to chip it towards the in-goal area. Brett Morris will take it and run the ball out of play. And the reaction of the Dragons, well, you would swear they'd won a semi-final because they had fists clenched and pumped in the air and the siren sounded. They've won by 20 on ANZAC Day, the 4th time they've won the ANZAC Day Cup against the Roosters. It's 26-6 at full time.
And gee, they needed it, the Dragons, coming into the match losing their last 4. And their loss against the Bulldogs last week, their most disappointing of the season. The Dragons were fantastic right from the outset and just beat the Roosters at everything today. Around the ruck, out wide, a terrific win and their 2nd of the season.
Let's go downstairs right now to Andy Raymond, who has a very happy Dragon with him.
Yeah, Jason Riles hasn't had a lot to smile about in 08, but that puts a smile on the dial.
It does, yeah.